Our great thanks to all Red Circles of Fire subscribers.
Love ya. Hit that notify bell for superb new content.
Chapter 19. War Drums. War is always the ugliest, most cynical distraction. Nothing pulls a starving, desperate people away from their troubles faster than war. And nothing buys loyalty faster than gold, especially when it's fire gold coins paid in advance for service in the sovereign's army. The sound of armored marching footsteps echoed in a Rakana City neighborhood and drew the notice of the Aduma people who lived there, despite their hungry bellies. An impeccably armored soldier, Captain Commander Rafaro, climbed atop a crumbling stone fountain in the largest Aduma ghetto of Rakana City and harangued.
"My beloved Aduma kith and kin,"
he proclaimed.
"I stand before you as a commander in the Monarch's 5th Legion, a proud product of the Monarch's beneficence, to present a man you already love, a man you already admire."
The crowd stirred.
"The supreme commander of the Monarch's legions, the greatest general this realm has known in generations, hero of the 3rd Civil War."
He paused, letting the moment stretch.
"General Uhsa-Lata!"
A roar rippled through the square. Mostly Aduma men surged forward, standing on tiptoes, chanting his name. "Uhsa-Lata! Uhsa-Lata!" The general emerged and also mounted the crumbling fountain as though it were a dais. With a beatific grin, he basked in the crowd's strained devotion. His unsheathed broadsword glinted in the noon sun, his golden field marshal armor shimmered with glory, and his crimson cloak flowed majestically behind him. He looked every bit the hero they had been promised. Sunlight gleamed off polished metal, and the smooth ebony dome of his bald head. Power radiated from him, controlled and terrifying. A vision of martial perfection standing in stark contrast to the crowd before him. Gaunt faces, exposed ribs, filthy rags stretched over hollow stomachs. Then his voice thundered across the square. "Treasonous dogs!" His voice boomed. "They have kidnapped our beloved monarch, His Majesty Oto-Mani the 33rd, and held him for ransom." "Who, you ask?" "High Lord Quan Tu and his greedy minions of the West Idari province. They are trying to steal the Fire Throne by illegally and sinfully taking our monarch. They wage cruel attacks upon our northwestern border." He continued, spinning slowly to give a compelling, panoramic speech to the crowd that encircled him. "Free men of Aduma, remember the example of your fathers. Come fight alongside me again. For once again, the great Mother Oto-Ma, the goddess of fire, calls you to join the army of the realm. Join the legions of your beloved monarch, your great emancipator, Oto-Mani, and fight to return our sovereign to his rightful place upon the throne. Do not let your name be left off the rolls of glory." A polite but paltry offering of applause followed the general's harangue. Uhsa-Lata did not believe a single word he was saying. Of course, he knew Oto-Mani had not been kidnapped. He hated Oto-Mani and his cursed Oto-Kanza dynasty. And he would rather see Oto-Mani dead than to see him and his man-bitch Diodi back on the Fire Throne, terribly ruling the realm. Flagrant homosexuals, sickening freaks. But Uhsa-Lata had a plan that no one but he knew. So he had to play along with the artifice Koture and his collaborators had erected for a little while longer in order to reach a more desired objective. 2 Aduma men, who uncharacteristically had shaved their locks, were not certain that Uhsa-Lata was lying, but they sensed something was not quite right. They mumbled as they stood far away from the square. "Why does the general need us to fight? Doesn't he have enough legions already?" The other agreed. "Yes, and besides, we are hungry. Swords are a poor substitute for bread." A young Aduma woman overheard the men and derided them.
"What choice do you have? Either starve here in these Aduma ghettos or at least get enough coins to buy what food there is in the market these days. Besides, they've taken the emancipator."
One man guffawed. "Woman, don't believe everything that puffed-up war dog tells you." He was afraid he had said it too loudly. The general exclaimed unabated, "Form up in lines, men! Enlist so to exchange the rags of poverty for the proud red uniform of the monarch's legions. Claim untold riches and wealth when you plunder the coffers of the betrayers. Join us in this righteous cause now!" Louder applause accompanied the general's words as a line began to form. He sheathed his sword and began to shake the hands of the men and women who were nearby. Some believed that indeed, the general was a man of the people, including the Aduma people. Flanked by his bodyguards, he waded through the crowd of glad expressions. It was difficult to tell Aduma from non-Aduma, but this neighborhood was littered with newly erected straw shanties near the chief tax collector's grand building. But the general had advised Lord Koture to show mercy and not have the shanties demolished. Not yet. Nearby, Rafaro talked with still skeptical Aduma men to convince them to sign up. He could see this effort would only be modestly successful. As Uhsa-Lata moved through the crowd, he was met by a cloaked figure who spoke with a quiver in their voice. "Bless you, dear general. I bring you greetings from an admirer who seeks to join your cause." Uhsa-Lata turned and was about to speak when he halted in his tracks. He stammered, Yes, thank you. Good. Even in the paradise of Makana, the process of birth is full of anxieties. It is full of worries of all that could go wrong. But praise be to the predecessors and the ancestors that Ola-Rhea was very healthy, her newborn child was healthy, and Lolo was a highly skilled midwife. Ola-Rhea knew she was drawn to Lolo's spirit the moment they met. Lolo's sassiness, rambunctious candor, and clear-eyed wisdom were magnetic. But the act of Lolo patiently, lovingly, and calmly helping Ola-Rhea bring her dear baby boy into this strange new world sealed a genuine bond between them. Looking down at the bundle of joy that cooed in Ola-Rhea's arms, Lolo remarked, "Your baby boy is so very lovely, Miss Area. What have you decided to name him?" "I've named him Bo-Mundi, the name of one of his uncles, and my beloved brother." Ola-Rhea knew that this partial truth may one day cost her. She knew that this Rakanese name may have seemed suspiciously alien in Makana. Bo-Mundi was the birth name of Oto-Mani the 32nd, her slain fiancé. It is just that the closeness she felt with Lolo, which had happened so rapidly, made her a little weary of all of the deception. Still, she only told partial truths, and Lolo probed no further. "Bo-Mundi? It is a little weird, but also a very sweet name. I think you've made a good choice." She gently wrapped his arms around both mother and child while blessing both of their foreheads with a kiss. It is a shame that the baby's father, Uzi, was not here to witness this happy moment. Ola-Rhea quickly recited the story they had fabricated. Yes, he and I argued quite a bit about him staying. But after all, he and Odi, as a newly blessed couple, should not miss the final day of the love fest in the capital. You're right, it was unwise for me to try and make the pilgrimage on foot in the first place. And I knew you would take very good care of me here. Corners of Lolo's mouth crinkled. "Okay," Lolo said. "Well, the two of you are right about midwife Lolo taking good care of you and your baby. All the same, you get some rest and let me know when you and baby boy are hungry again." Ola-Rhea beamed a heartfelt appreciation. "Thank you so very much, Lolo, for everything." Lolo merely responded with a wink and quietly shut the bedroom door while tiptoeing out. Lolo walked out back into the garden for fresh air and reflection. Lolo was also upholding a pretense, and their part in this pretense gave them a gnawing feeling of guilt in the pit of their stomach. All along, Lolo knew that Ola-Rhea, Oto-Mani, and Diodi were not of Makana. Lolo was still skeptical about the existence of a Rakana as legend described, but there were too many foreign ways of the three guests for them to be native Makani. Lolo knew of Tulu's plan to have Oto-Mani and Diodi arrested and strenuously objected to it. Once on the road, they were to be treated as alien threats as opposed to curious visitors. But Father-Brother Tulu was simply too powerful and respected in Makani society for Lolo to openly defy him. Not yet. Lolo distinctly recalls acquiring a contraband Orbani from a particularly persistent black market salesman, tall and distinguished. It was almost free for the small amount the man sold it for. Then curiously, the same night that Oto-Mani and Diodi visited, Lolo received an anonymous transmission on the same Orbani. Although Orbani were forbidden possessions, Lolo frequently flaunted rules, and the black market salesman must have sensed this. The message, which was conveyed softly by way of a distorted muted voice but without any image, was as follows.
"Sister brother Lolo, please give this Orbani to the strangers. I know you believe the actions of Father Brother Tulu are very unjust, and a loved one of these strangers desires to contact them."
That was it. The messenger was gone. Lolo was perplexed. Obviously, the black market salesman purposely gave Lolo this Orbani so to receive this message. Lolo tossed all night in sleepless doubt. How can I consider doing such a stupid thing, defying Baba, just because a damn voice tells me to? But being both wise and impetuous, Lolo snuck the Orbani to the strangers and prayed this was not just another ploy or an entrapment by Baba. The more Lolo thought about their actions, the more Lolo sunk deeply into a bog of guilt. Then it occurred to Lolo, I thought Baba said he was going to leave some guards to protect the woman and the baby? But then Lolo's attention was clutched by a rustling of feet near a little-known garden entrance. 6 tall, dark figures drifted from the shadows dressed ominously in green tunics and masks. 2 men who stood in front of the others, one with short hair and the other with long braided hair, walked a few paces forward with their arms folded, almost too frightened to deploy a usual rapier wit. Almost, Lolo asked through a cracked voice, "Who are you? How in a demon's sweaty testicles did you get in this garden?" The man with short hair, probably the boss, replied, "Citizen Lolo, how do you know my name?" "We are the brethren of the True Circle. We have been authorized to safely transport the woman and child to the capital city, and I have a written warrant to take them into custody. I have never heard of any damn such thing as a True Circle. That's because it's a secret." "Whatever. Authorities? Who authorized you? Take off those masks and give me that so-called warrant." Lolo spit a barrage of questions and stamped angrily in defiance. Instinct told Lolo that these men were not from Rakana and thus were lying about being authorized, presumably by the council, to take the woman and the child. Why would Baba send these men without prior notice? One of the 2 men, the one with braided hair, lazily outstretched a document that he produced from the folds of his tunic, but stood in place. "Here, bring it over to me," commanded Lolo. "Whatever you say." As though signaled, one of the other green-tunicked men, brawny and enraged, lunged forward with the speed of a recoiled spring and threw a punch at Lolo's face. With lightning reflexes, Lolo sidestepped the jab and parried with a steely uppercut, where the palm of their hand connected so powerfully with the man's face that it cracked cartilage and broke blood vessels. The attacker reeled back in agony with blood soaking through the green cloth of the mask that covered his head. Clearly, the attackers had underestimated Lolo's martial arts skills. Lolo had once trained to become a guardian or memory officer of the Circle of Memory, but for undisclosed reasons, they resigned before their formal induction. Still, Lolo was far more proficient with fists and firearms than most others in this so-called peaceful paradise. 3 of the remaining 6 men moved in unison, fists flying and kicks whipping through the air. Lolo morphed into a blur of motion with movements that were precise, fluid, and swift. A block here, a spin there. Each strike delivered with the precision of an assassin puncturing his target. The first man fell to a high kick from Lolo that struck him like a thunderclap. The second crumpled from several punches to his face. The third attempted a sweeping kick but found his leg seized mid-motion and thus hurled into his comrade, already on the ground like a sack of grain. The second man who got the wind knocked out of him from the elbow jab got up to attack again, but he hesitated. His confidence was shaken by how efficiently Lolo had dispensed with the attacks of him and his comrades. Lolo's calm aura unbroken, their breaths steady. With a nod of respect, the man charged, swinging widely, hoping to land a more decisive blow this time. But with a single sweeping motion, the man's attack was redirected, and he found himself face first on the ground, disarmed not only of his stance but of his pride. Until now, Lolo had clearly bested this troop of attackers, and shown an agility and ability that proved Lolo was not to be toyed with like some lightweight pretender. But this fight had progressed so quickly that it was difficult for Lolo to see that the first several initial attacks were diversions away from the concurrent assault the 2 boss men intended. Before Lolo could catch their breath from countering the second attacker's charge, the tall, braided hair man had swooped low to the ground, below and behind Lolo's field of vision, and pinned Lolo's arms in a vice-grip chokehold from the back. "What the fire pucker?" Lolo yelped. "Get off me, you randy bastard!" Lolo implied the man was driven more by lust than by anger. Disgusted by Lolo's taunt, the man began to strangle the air out of Lolo, and this asphyxiation made Lolo panic. Just as the world around Lolo darkened to blackness and grayness from a lack of oxygen, the tall, braided hair man spun Lolo around to release him from his grip. Instantly, Lolo greedily exhaled in a lungful of desperately needed air. But just as Lolo shook their head for clear sight, the second boss man speared Lolo's right jaw with a hard right blow so powerful that it toppled Lolo backwards. The attacker must have had concrete inside the gloved hand he used to hit Lolo with. Electric shocks of pain radiated through Lolo's skull and shoulders from the near-deadly punch, and then Lolo's body brutally slammed to the stony floor of the garden. When the ringing in Lolo's ears began to clear, Lolo recognized that their body was pressed against sharp rocks upon the ground. Lolo rolled over on their back and because no attacker immediately kicked Lolo's ribs or face, it was safe to assume the attackers were gone. But why didn't they tie up Lolo? Lolo fought against the ache and searing pains in their body and had to sit up, but intuition told them that the woman and her baby had been taken. Who the puck were these men, and where in hell's nasty armpit were those guards that Tulu promised to post? In the distance, Lolo heard a static crackle in between the muffled shouts of a man.
Lolo! Lolo, can you hear me? This is Fumo. Come in, Lolo!
Again, Lolo feared the worst for the woman and her baby. Thanked the predecessors for still being alive and unbound, even if bloody.
Now, good people, please like, comment, and subscribe to catch the next thrilling episode of Red Circles of Fire.